17 women and counting have registered formal complaints with an investigative agency set up by the Kerala government as the film industry in the state confronts a very grave Me Too moment. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo Story. Mohanlal is among the superstars to have quit a major film body's post. In fact, the entire executive committee has resigned as Kerala confronts its Me Too moment. This in the backdrop of the Justice HEMA panel, a panel that was set up to look at how women are treated in the film industry. Though the report looked at many issues, including sexual harassment, there has been a surge of women speaking out, in particular about sexual misconduct in the last few days. We have seen among those who have had to quit party posts after being at the receiving end of such allegations, Siddiqui and Ranjit among them. Now facing criticism about not having done enough to stand with women, the entire executive committee of the major artists body has quit, among them Mohanlal. This was a fight, the public sort of access that we now have to the HEMA committee report is only because of the fight led by the Kerala Women's Collective. Remember, this was a panel whose report was ready in 2019. It has taken more than 4.5 years for the country and for the state to start talking about this report and its findings. As I said, this would not have been possible without the good fight fought by the Kerala Women's Collective, the Cinema Women's Collective. And I want to welcome now to the program an actor who has been at the forefront of raising her voice for this report to be made public and has also appeared before the panel. Parvathy is with us. Parvathy, thank you so much. And let me start by asking you, what does this moment feel like? It's been such a long fight for you, for others in the collective. I know you've been at it for nearly 5 years. You have been meeting with members of the Kerala government. You yourself appeared before this panel. I think you called it somewhere a bittersweet moment. How would you describe what you're thinking and feeling right now?
Thanks, Barkha. When the report came out, I was in a state of shock because I had completely given up hope. But the last 4.5 years, the way the government and whoever had their vested interest in keeping the report under the carpet had made us beg and grovel for it. I genuinely had given up hope. The collective never does give up hope, and that I'm so grateful for the fact that I have these women around me, and we get to help each other get back on track when we lose hope. But I had somewhere with the kind of attitude the committee, after submitting the report, took when we tried to connect with them. One of the committee members is yesteryear actor Sharda, who said extremely, made slight of our situation by saying you should have just behaved better or worn better clothes, maybe, or maybe look for another job if you didn't want to be in the industry. All of those things
The
were
committee, the committee member looking into how women are treated said this, commented
yes,
on clothes and said you should behave better.
yes,
Why
absolutely.
would you trust this committee after that was said?
It came after the fact, so we felt very betrayed at that point. As one of the members from WCC, and generally all of the people who went and deposed in front of the committee, it was a very harsh betrayal. We went through hours and hours of recounting and reliving the trauma that we've gone through over decades. At least for me, it is about 14 to 15 years at that point, but for some of them it is decades worth of their lived experience. And because of the confidentiality clause, which was a positive, a lot of people got to go and give their statements. What was very important is that they had to hand write all of those reports. Like, every statement was handwritten. None of them were there was no use of any audio recording device, which made it doubly difficult, obviously, for the committee, but also for us to keep repeatedly hearing if they've gotten it right. So going through that, all of it, we were hoping that it would be worth it. And once the report was submitted, we were given excuses like some technical loopholes that, oh, it was not an investigative commission report anyway, so there is no RTI Act that can be applied to it. And then there comes these extremely demeaning statements. The frustration Justice Hema showed in most of her interviews, saying, oh, like, get off my back, like, why are you bothering me now, kind of attitude. And it was just, I think it broke our hearts to million pieces. And then, but of course, the fight must go on. So the collective kept its spirit up. And towards the end, obviously, there were enough petitions being filed, and the media as allies came forward. There was public outcry about it. But even so, 4.5 years is a heavy price to pay for something that we were joining forces with the government to say, hey, here we are, we'll help you set it up. We are not accusing you, we are trying to be your ally and be with you, but this is what we were given.
So, it really reflects how institutional patriarchy and misogyny is when I hear you describing how the committee itself had members who were either, as you mentioned, the judge was impatient and dismissive, another member spoke about women behaving better and dressing better. When I hear this, I wonder whether we should treat the findings of this committee then with the gravitas it would have otherwise deserved.
So at the time that the depositions were happening, they were extremely neutral. Their questions were they were very empathetic, which is why it came as a shock that much later when we were probing why the report was not coming out. When these statements were not made to us privately, Barkha, these were statements given to media, which is why it
Right.
came as more of a shock for us. That said, when the report did come out and we heard that there are 255 odd pages and with redacted portions where the names have been redacted for, to safeguard the survivors, uh, it did feel that we were vindicated. At the end, everything that WCC was talking about from its inception has been corroborated. They did not just have depositions from us, from the members in the collective. They called everybody, most of the stakeholders. There were men from different unions and associations who were called for interviews too. So for this extensive document to come out and have corroborated everything that we were claiming to be true anyway, this was our truth, does feel like a vindication that was, long overdue for sure.
Now, just one point about the delay. Do you blame the committee itself? Do you blame the government? Who is responsible for the fact that it has taken more than 4.5 years? A report completed in 2019 sees the light of day in 2024.
Personally, I could at least look at it like it is first of its kind, a government appointed committee trying to do this. So the committee itself was formed to study what the practices or malpractices in the film industry is like, but also to understand what exactly is the film industry. Film industry is unlike any other workplace. The definition of workplace in itself is so expansive that it can be my hotel room is workplace when my employer has given me that, the car that the
Sure,
employer has given me becomes. So even people who working in the industry don't understand the exact definition or the expansiveness of the term workplace,
sure.
and to understand even posh laws for that matter and what rights we have. So to understand the practices, malpractices, and put together a better system in place is the whole point of HEMA committee report, is the whole point that they came together. So then for them to keep it away from us by saying the sensitive information, for us it was like, that's not news. We are the ones who gave the sensitive information. Why are you protecting ourselves from the truth we have shared with you in confidence?
Sure, sure.
The point. So I would not blame the committee. I would definitely put the onus entirely on the apathy from the government. And especially once the report came out, the comments from the cultural minister was even more shocking, where he was saying that, oh, power structures exist everywhere. That's the human nature. I mean, that's a it's sweeping, broad philosophical
Yeah.
statement, which we cannot give any thanks for. And the fact that for 4.5 years, if they had the report with them and they have not even read it or studied it, in the words of Hannah Gatsby, stop wasting our time.
Yeah, it's just staggering. I was just thinking, listening to you from Kolkata to Kerala. Obviously, when it comes to women, there are. It's very peculiar how politicians can often respond in the same way, either with denial or dismissiveness, and so it makes all of our lives committed to a lifelong battle. But coming back to what's happened since,
Yeah.
now we have seen so far 17 and counting. The Kerala government has set up an investigative team. We have seen 17 women come forward, and you're seeing some of them on our screen. Call out some big names in the film industry, share their own experiences, go on record. God knows it's not been easy. It would not have been easy for them to do what they're doing. Uh, I want to ask you, when you look at the fact that the Mohanlal led executive committee of the Cine Artists Association, all of them have actually quit under a cloud. Uh, what do you make of that decision? Because one of the suggestions about why the report was delayed is that powerful people in the industry did not want it to come out. Many of those powerful people did not stand shoulder to shoulder with women. They certainly did not take a public position. Now, many of them have quit. What do you make of this decision of the disbanding of the Mohanlal led Cine Artist panel?
The first thought that I had when I heard the news about this collective resignation was how cowardly. How cowardly of
Hmm.
them to step away from a position where they are now accountable to speak to media. That was an immediate cop out. And again, the onus falls on us women, to take the conversations, the debates forward, and all of it. It would have been amazing if they had at least shown the intention to work with the government, work with the stakeholders, and figure a way out. This is the same executive committee that welcomed the prime accused of the sexual assault case back to their fold when the case was still going on. This is the same executive committee that claimed none of these things actually exist at all until, of course, the allegations against them came out. Also, I have to add the fact that the government also really made, I think it was very careless of them to make statements like, if women have complaints, they should just fire FIR and come up with the names. This entire, again, the onus put on women to name and shame and take the brunt of it after that. My question was always, what is the proof of justice that you have to show for you to demand that we must name and shame? After that, what happens to us and our careers and our lives and the legal fees and the mental health issues? No one gives a damn about that.
Yeah.
So it then begs the bigger question, is that why again and again is the onus put on the women to take care of the problems that are not caused by us? When are the men going to call themselves out and call each other out in front of the community? Clearly they are part of the problem. They are the problem. And the women who are coming out, I have such deep respect for them, and I will be with them. The collective stands by them. But it is so unnecessary and unfair that they were pushed to do this. When especially that is exactly why the Khema Committee report should have been implemented. It's already the justice is delayed. And when the report comes out, and then again you are chavi lagaofying, you're keying them because now we are like, oh, we've done everything by the book, being an ally, trying to support the government, and we are still forced to take the vigilante route of some sort.
Yeah.
Like,
So, so when the Mohanlal-led committee says this is, it's kind of moral responsibility because this happened on their watch, you're not very impressed because you feel this is the time for them to actually take a public, articulated position on what's coming out of the cupboard.
frankly, though, Barkha, I'm not very surprised at their behavior. I was part of AMMA before. I have seen how they function. Um, and there is a reason why I happily resigned from the association as well. There is no one that they can fool with this kind of behavior. And secondly, if forget actually articulating something in support, the fact that their first choice of action is to go to cover into the darkness and then start maligning the women who are coming forward,
Yeah.
is in itself, I think society as such is now seeing them for who they are. And I think it's a good thing, this kind of disruption, in the sense that perhaps, see, AMMA has a massive membership. It has about 250 men and women. Like, it's a huge membership, and I think it will benefit for them to have better leadership at this point. At least maybe this disruption will do well for that association. And for that matter, I am with AMMA members who deserved, like, for all the membership fee they gave and all the fear, that it's a very fear induced atmosphere in there. You cannot speak up for your
Hmm.
rights. Although there is supposed to be an executive committee that is representing you, it wasn't. It was a very hierarchical. It was a very what's the word I'm looking for? It was an authoritarian space for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to ask you though, if you look at what's happened with other Me Too allegations in other walks of life, not just in the movie industry, we see over a period of time. So here it's quite different. I actually don't want to use the phrase Me Too because women are actually going to the police led investigative team and they are filing, many of them are filing police complaints. They're actually filing police complaints. So it's a little bit different from Me Too, where there wasn't necessarily legal action. But we have seen men facing grave accusations, rehabilitated professionally, if they've ever been penalized, right?
Mm.
We have seen an actor like Bhavna Menon fight for years in the Dilip case. This goes on so long that the process becomes the punishment. And in the meantime, women, in particular in the movie industry, we've seen this happen, they stop getting work. We've seen Chinmay, for example, speak about this. Are you concerned, and how can the collective actually protect all of these women who've come forward now to speak? What if they are professionally penalized? What if the men who may have left these executive posts but still demand and command great influence? What if these women stop getting work? And please, I'm with them. I stand shoulder to shoulder with them. But this is what happens to women often who speak up.
But Barkha, this has already happened to us. 7 years ago, when we started, we've already been penalized for speaking up for our basic human rights. I've lost work. I still consider myself one of the most privileged members of the collective who
Hmm.
still gets work. And that's probably also because I'm not entirely reliant on the Malayalam film industry, even though the most love that I get from the audience is something that I value very highly. But the way after one hit after the other that I could be a part of those films, be it Uyere and Takeoff and Charlie and Ninda Moideen, and all of those movies were commercially absolute mega blockbusters. And after that, zilch, nothing, no calls. And that was very telling at that time. I'm talking about 2017, 2018, 2019, around the same time.
Yeah.
I found work in other places. I found work in Tamil, I found work in Telugu, I found work in Hindi. And for me, it's easier to say because I do come from a privileged space and I understand my privilege thanks to my sisters in the collective. There are members of the collective who have completely had to take other jobs to sustain their families. We've already paid the price. We are already in the fight. We are on the front line. And now there is no going back. When what happened to our friend, our colleague, happened in 2017, we had decided we're not going to go back to the way it was anymore. So whatever the price is, the ones who are coming together, we are ready to pay. But it's not going to be for long because the structures have to be disrupted. This power
Hmm.
structure has there is a decision. Yes, there is pain. Yes, there is loss that cannot be quantified. But what if we lose work? And the other side, what if we live without dignity? Not a question.
But the reason that women are silent for as long as they are sometimes is because of that power dynamic, whether it's the Harvey Weinstein moment in the United States of America or what we're seeing here. Why do women speak up much later? There's fear, but there's also dependency for your livelihood on these very, very corroded, poisonous power structures. I want to ask you, you say you've lost work for speaking out. Did you ever have that moment where you said, maybe I should just not speak so much?
No, no, not once. When I started
Good for
acting
you.
2024, 20, no, not 2024, sorry, 20, yeah, it was 2005 when I first had the inkling of the behavioral, issues of men in the
Hmm.
industry. Saying it started with obviously saying, "Oh, we don't need a contract. I mean, we're like a family. It's just 5 days of work, 10 days of work, and then not paying me at all after that, and then
At
many
all. Not paying you at all.
at all." And when those things happen, I remember having this thought to myself that I will do any other work. I can get any other job. I'll only exist in such a space. So I became the difficult person to work with. Thankfully, the kind of movies that I did get to do got me critical acclaim, did fairly well. So I started getting work, did start trickling in. It was never this overpouring of work for me ever. It has always been one after the other, no matter how successful my movie, because I'm considered a difficult person to be with. I'm proud about that. But because I started from that point of view, even at this point, That doesn't scare me. But at this point, what has changed is that I refuse to leave, and I'll refuse for my colleagues to make that decision. So now it's about having made up our mind as a collective that we are going to build it from scratch. And those who
Yeah.
want to join this can join it, but if they don't, they will be disrupted. They're not going to find it as easy for them to exploit our lack of rights for their benefit.
Yeah. Well, here's two more difficult women. May there be many more of us. Let me ask you in the end. The media focus has been entirely on sexual assault, harassment, misconduct. The HEMA committee panel was also looking at issues like pay parity that you have just mentioned, that you actually worked without being paid at all, the place of women, what is a workspace, and many other issues. Do you do you feel hopeful that this may be the beginning of some real change? Because one of the very interesting things you said was, at least this is an industry where these conversations are happening. The parts of the country where these conversations are not happening at all, that's where, there's so much we have yet to at least officially discover. So, just last thoughts before we let you go.
Absolutely, because I feel like Kerala, I mean, there is so much about Kerala that is talked about being a progressive, most literate state of the country and all. The fact is that there is a civic consciousness here that keeps our government, responsible. We are a very dissenting citizens. We do speak up when whoever is in power and they are not serving justice. There is the discussion, the discourse is extremely, it's never polarized, it's always towards a solution. And that kind of scatters over through like osmosis of some sort to every working industry. And that's the same thing that's happening in Malayalam film industry. So it's not even coming as a surprise that we are speaking up. And the change definitely began thanks to the survivor who spoke up in 2017, and then all of us who came together and refused to step back no matter what stones were thrown at us. We have gone through slut shaming, we have gone through, and we continue to. We've gone through extreme cancellation no matter what, and we continue to be here 7 years later. My worry is that my colleagues from other industry have spoken to me about what they are going through, and
Yeah.
this pretty whitewashing that they do is very concerning to me, because they all speak about, we wish WCC was here, we wish. And
Yeah.
my thing is, we wished it too, we became it, we have to take that step. Yeah, so here.
What's been the most difficult thing about the last few years that you've had to fight this? Of course, cancellation, getting erased out of projects, slut shamed. But has it felt lonely? The collective obviously helps with that. What has been the toughest thing?
No, I think what happened is, over a period of time, in the last 2.5 years especially, there's been a great re education of what allyship really means. From public
Yeah.
as well as from media, we've started seeing who are true allies, and who are allies only when everything is going really well.
Yeah.
The woke allies who only come in when they can partake in the glory of it all. So that was a
Yeah.
huge learning for all of us. Secondly, it was the lack of work. It was the denial of our right to work. This is labor rights that we're talking about. And in a state like Kerala, especially, that cannot be allowed. And secondly, we are looking at prevention and prohibition. I keep repeating that like, like a parrot, is that we are always talking about punishment. But what about doing the boring work, the taxing work of
Yeah.
setting up systems that will prevent and prohibit in the first place? And for that matter, producers are going to benefit from it the most. Of course, this is more female inclined movement right now, because we are the ones affected immediately right now, but it's going to benefit everybody. And I think that awareness is where we're still hopeful. We still haven't heard from the government. In sense, you mentioned the special task force. While I appreciate and I salute the bravery of women who are going ahead and giving FIRs and giving statements to them, I find it very it's very uncomfortable for me when women are being called by police officers asking, do you have any complaint? That's not how you do it. You cannot call up
Right.
survivors or suspected survivors saying, that looks like it's trying to check a box.
Yeah.
We're still saying we can go slow, we can go really slow with this, and
Yeah.
work together at a sustained result, instead of
Yeah.
making broad statements for the sake of protecting your name.
Absolutely. I want to say, may you continue to be difficult. May many more of us continue to be difficult, proudly difficult.
Yeah.
But you do stand vindicated. All of you who have fought this fight, you, Rima, Revati, all of you, so many of you in the collective who have fought this fight. Thank you for fighting the fight on behalf of us all, because in the end, this may be about the film industry, but you could have identical conversations in all of our professions. And on a happier note, congratulations to you for winning the big award you've just won at the International Film Festival in Melbourne. Parvathy, thank you for talking to us.
Thank you so much, Barkha. Appreciate you.
Take care. See you, Parvathy.
See you.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.